Howdy pards, welcome back. Wheels and Levers, doing a little update video. I had intended to do some videos with Jess by now, whom I mentioned it in a video a few weeks ago. Her and I have a little mate sister of hers named Fly, who's not quite as advanced as Jess. But in any event, both of them came in heat. Fly started coming in heat about 2 weeks ago, and 4 or 5 days ago, Jess started coming in heat as well. Fly should be going out here pretty soon. Jess probably be another week or so before she goes out. So we'll see uh, what goes on with that. This is both of them. They just turned a year old yesterday. Today is October 12th. We're born October 11th, 2019. So probably be at least a couple of weeks before I do much with them. I want them to get fully out of heat before I start putting much pressure on them and making some videos. I will try to make a couple of videos probably with Hank. I should have some time here in the next week or so. So I'll try to do some stuff with him and talk about the things that I mentioned with training and what I like to see a dog do, which doesn't mean that he's doing everything that I like to see a dog do, as I mentioned before. But he has enough control and power that he's worth spending time with, in my view. So I'll probably do some stuff with him and just show pretty much how he works naturally. I don't have any of my dogs on whistles right now. I haven't bothered to put whistles on them because I don't need them to work more than a couple of 100 yards from me. And so, I mean, I guess it would, in that sense, be better. I guess I shouldn't say. I mean, they've got a few. I can give them a stop. They know what my stop whistle is. They know what my walk up whistle is. I haven't put flank commands on them with whistles. Um, so I may do that with Hank as well, but we'll just see how how it goes here. My main concern with Hank, as I mentioned in the previous video, is I want to work on having him learn to shed and sheep that aren't necessarily used with lambs. He kind of naturally do that. He'll naturally zero in on a ewe with a lamb and single them out. But I need to work on shed. Also, if a ram challenges him, let's say they are using, and I do have ewes in heat right now. If a ram faces him up, he will single that ram out and slowly back him down, as I've shown him doing with a ewe with a lamb in the past. I made that video in early February, I believe it was, so 6 months ago now. He'll do the same. But the rams are used to him by now, kind of, and so they don't really challenge. I mean, they may turn and face him up for a second, and he'll just stop and eye them, and then they turn back around, and then he moves along. That's one thing you should be able to see, is that his sense of balance will take over in those situations. And when if a ram or a ewe turns to face him, he'll stop, put pressure on the sheep, not by moving on them, but literally eyeing them. They'll turn, and then he'll start moving them along. I would like to be able, I should say, when that happens, to make him walk up, but he didn't want to walk up in that instance. He wants to stop. And if I tell him to walk up, he doesn't now. I've got to decide if I want to break him from that. Do I want to make him walk up anyway? And right now the answer is no, because he maintains good control. And as I've mentioned before, the reality is he understands better what controls a sheep than I do. However, it is also true that that you're the boss and you got to make them do what you want. So I could, if I was going to trial him much or at all, I'm not planning to right now. I would want to break that out of him and make him walk up anyhow. But since I'm not planning to trial him, I have the luxury of not having to do that, and he maintains enough control over them that I'm not worried about it. I worked him a little bit yesterday. I had him take him in the pen, and I had him push the sheep over to a corner. And I wanted him to push him up tight into the corner, and he was hesitant to do that. He had him in the corner, held there, and giving him a command, walk up, walk up. He didn't do it. I kept giving him. After about 10 or 15 seconds of me telling him 2 or 3 times, he turns to look at me. No, I don't like to anthropomorphize the dog, but no, he turns to look at me, and obviously he said, "What do you want me to do? I've got them here. I've got them held. They're not getting away." Uh, so I don't like anthropomorphizing, but I mean something like that is going on in his head, in his mind. He has them controlled, and he doesn't understand why I'm still telling him to walk up when he's there's no possible way the way he looks at it that they're going to get away. Now, what I did then is I walked up on them myself, kind of on the right, and then he kind of naturally went over to the left to move them in the corner, and then a couple of them tried to break away because they were feeling a lot of pressure, and he jumped in and held them. But I'd like to be able to get him where I can stand back and not have to move myself, and have him get up there and maybe shed the sheep, bring a group of them away back to me, that kind of thing. So that's kind of stuff I'll be working on him with. I literally have no interest whatsoever in making him real wide on his flank. I do not like those big, wide flanks. I understand that's good for trialing, so you don't lose points by bumping the sheep, but in the real world, I want the sheep bumped. And the reason I want them bumped is because I want them to feel the power of the dog. And, again, trialing situation is different because the sheep that you have at home get used to the dog quickly, and he gets used to them quickly, and so the sheep know what to expect from the dog and all. But as I said, my sheep are heavy enough and confrontational enough that as soon as the dog starts wide flanking, they'll assume that's because, again, I'm not trying to anthropomorphize the sheep too much, but they'll start challenging the dog. I mean, they sense a weakness in the dog at that point, and then they will challenge the dog. So I think Hank senses that naturally, and he maintains tight flanks on. Now, on his outrun, he doesn't do. I've been noticing here, and this is one reason why I didn't want to widen him on his outrun earlier. He's 2 years and almost 10 months old now. He's 2 years, 9 months. At the end of this month, end of October, he'll be 2 years, 10 months. And then December 27th, he'll be 3 years old. But on his outruns that I've been sending him out on the last few weeks, he is going, really way out there. Part of it's because the grass has grown up. I had it cut in early August. It's up high enough now. He doesn't necessarily see them real well. There's some weeds and stuff out there too. But he's getting wide and deep on the sheep on his own. And I was kind of anticipating that happening as he got older. And that's fine. And he has a relatively naturally soft lift in that he will get wide and deep around them, and then he comes up on them, and when they realize that he's there, they bunch and start moving quick. Now, once they start moving quick, he'll come real quick too. In a trialing situation, I would want that to slow down because they'll take points off of you. He's running the sheep. Well, the sheep are running. In this case, they're running back to the mouth of the pen because they know that's what's going on. And then he'll come up quick on them to, keep them pushed up and get them in the pen or whatever. So we'll probably get out in the pasture some, and I'll show you what I just described and let him do that. And then instead of pinning them, I'll move back to one side or the other, and he'll naturally flank around and bring them back to me. And I like to do some of that just natural balance work with them on a regular basis because it's been my experience that if you do that fairly regularly, that will help them keep their natural ability to maintain and control the sheep without you having to command them to do it. That's another reason why I don't want to push him too much on him and make him get up and push the sheep no matter what, because I don't want him to lose his natural sense of control and start relying on me to give him commands to control the sheep, because again, he knows much better what's needed to control them than I ever could know because of his natural hunting instinct. So I'll do some of that stuff and let you show how he works them around and how he keeps control of them. And in the process, I will try to we'll work on shedding, singling other sheep other than stuff. And other than that, I really don't. I'm not sure. I'd like to work on lengthening his drive and getting the pace faster on the drive. Um, but it's not that big of a deal because like I said, I don't have any problems with him maintaining control on the drive. Can drive them anywhere. Um, he's not used to doing it at distances more than 100, 150 yards from me. So in reality, I don't really need anything more than that. Now, just in the interest of getting the dog to be as good as he can be, then I'd like to have him where he can drive him 300, 400 yards. Yeah. So let me try working on that some as well. So that's the plan here, that I can work on him while I'm not working with Jess and Fly, because they are in heat and it'll take a little while for them to get over it. Probably be about November, maybe even Thanksgiving, before I do a lot with them. Meg, who's an older female from catalog lines, I may show her some. She's been getting kind of rusty because I've been working mostly with Hank here the last month or so. Uh, but I'll try to show some stuff with Hank too. I got real young puppies born in July. In fact, July 11th, uh, I got a litter of 7 pups. They're full brothers and sisters to Jess and Fly, and if I'm not mistaken, 4 of those are already showing interest on sheep. One, a young female who I call Queen, really showing interest. I mean, she's getting out and working up, and she's showing a lot more eye and style than Jess has. Jess is pretty free moving and hasn't shown a lot of eye to this point. This young female, her name is again Queen. She's showing a lot of eye, and reminds me of Hank when he was really young, except she's showing even more eye than he showed. And then there's a male from that litter, whom I call Jim, who looks like this dog. The reason I call him Jim, he looks like Bobby Deal's Jim, but he's got more. Got my Jim has more tan on him. Got more tan right there. But he's got almost the same markings, and I think he's going to be prick-eared. Their mother Dot is prick-eared, and Tay the sire is prick-eared on the right. His left ear kind of dribbles down. But in any event, he looks like this dog. He's showing interest already. Another female named Nell from that litter is showing interest. She's a big old girl, very dominant type of female, kind of like Jess in her personality. She's just kind of all over. And then another male, whom I call Cap. He looks like Whiston Cap. That's the reason I call him Cap, but he's got a little bit more tan than Whiston Cap had. I don't know that he'll be a prick-eared dog though. He's also showing a little interest. Then I have a litter that was born 8 days later out of my female Kate, and got several within. There were 6 in that litter. I got a male that I named Don after J.R. Thomas's famous dog Don. He's already showing interest. He's a big old male, very dominant personality. There's another male from that litter who looks a lot like the one that I named Don, whom I call Rich. He's showing interest. There's only 2 females in that litter. There's a female with a good deal of white on her head. The other ones don't have very much white on them at all, whom I call Gail. She's going to be smooth. All these look like smooth coat dogs out of Kate. And she is showing a lot of eye. She gets out there and she sees the sheep, drops down. Some people don't like that. She freezes and just eyes them. So I haven't done anything, just let her see the sheep a couple of times. But anyhow, I got those young dogs that are looking pretty good. I placed some of my other dogs. I had some pups that were brothers and sisters of Jess, who weren't showing a lot of interest yet. And since they just turned a year old, if they're not showing much interest at a year old, at that time I'm ready to move them on. And so I placed several of those, and so I'm down to just a couple of year-old pups now. And then I have these other young ones that are 3 months old, and we'll see how many of them. There's a total of 13 already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 7 of those are already showing interest. So I'm pleased with that. So we'll be showing some stuff on them too as well, probably in the near future. So just wanted to give you an update and let you know what was going on. And I will see you in the next video if I can get this one to stop.